This
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Wait, I said ladies and gentlemen. What's up, dinguses? My name is Jerry Bees. Tonight, we are in for, well, I'd say a treat, right? Because I've heard so many great things about the album tonight. I just don't think treat is going to be the right word. Maybe it will be. Maybe it will be. I don't know. Tonight, we are listening to Deathconsciousness by Have a Nice Life. Deathconsciousness by Have a Nice Life is not a commercially successful album. It is definitely, from everything I've gathered, a cult classic. And is widely regarded to be one of the, if not the most depressing, sad, sullen, despot pieces of music that's ever been put to wax. And I know one song, so, you know, devotion to accuracy, full transparency here. I do have the track Bloodhail on one of my playlists that I've made forever ago, but I don't think I've ever listened to that entire song, right? I know exactly how it starts, but I've definitely never listened to it in the context of the entire album. Now, you might be sitting there wondering, what the hell is Deathconsciousness by Have a Nice Life? This is one of those rare times that I actually have looked up a little bit of the Wikipedia page and done a little bit of research beforehand. So if you want me to do that more in my videos, let me know down in the comments. But usually I like to go in pretty blind. I usually like to go in pretty blind. This album was made on a budget of less than $1,000. And I believe I started watching a video essay forever ago. He was like an English teacher or something. And this was kind of just made haphazardly over the course of months. And I guess the band wasn't expecting this to gain any traction at all. They were expecting to live in, you know, mediocrity and, what's the word they use here? Obscurity, right? Obscurity. But that's not the case. This album has since gained a lot of critical praise, and it comes in, this is the longest album I've ever reacted to on this channel in one sitting, right? If anybody's watched my Taylor Swift reactions, we reacted to Red, Taylor's version, and that's a long one, right? That's over an hour and a half long. I think that's actually 2 hours. This one is 1 hour and 24 minutes, so double the length of most of the albums I react to in one sitting. So it's going to be a little bit different this time around. I think I'm going to let the whole song play through and then kind of give my thoughts after the song. Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds good. But before we do actually get started, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. If you want to catch more reactions like these early before they get posted on YouTube, go ahead and check out my Patreon down below. I offer that for $1 a month. Crazy deal. And a whole bunch of other shit for you to click on. So, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, this is Deathconsciousness by Have a Nice Life. And I'm really loving some of the longer song titles on these. We listened to a quick one before The Eternal Worm Devours Connecticut. Right now. No lyrics. Okay, so that was the first track off of Deathconsciousness, a quick one before the Eternal Worm Devours Connecticut. And it wasn't a quick one. It's about 8 minutes long, coming in at 7 minutes, 52 seconds. Long songs do not disappoint me or turn me off at all. It's just, I'll bring them up, but it's happenstance. I'm a Pink Floyd guy, right? Echoes is one of my favorite songs of all time, and that's a 20-minute song, for God's sakes. Although, not to compare it, but to compare it, there's a little bit more going on in that one than this one. But I think, we just got an 8-minute intro song. So, it's definitely everything I've come to know or everything I've heard about this album so far. This isn't joyous at all. You had that one guitar loop going back and forth. You had that guitar just looping those notes over and over and over again as these modulators and synths are kind of panning and doing what they're doing production-wise. So, and, another thing I forgot to mention, back in the intro, this album does kind of have two movements or two parts, as it were. So tracks 1 through 7 go into the plow that broke the plains. That's part 1. And then part 2 is called The Future. And I'm aware that there is a loose plot to this all. Something about a religious leader coming to terms with death itself or something like that, right? So obviously we can't extrapolate that because there weren't any lyrics, but I do want to quickly check in to see if there were lyrics, because I did hear some things at the end of that song. Sometimes I don't know. Sometimes I don't know. Sometimes I don't know. Sometimes I don't know. Okay, wow. Wow, I wish I had heard the sometimes part. And I was like, wait, I don't know what else he's saying. And he's saying, I don't know. So that's depressing in and of itself, I think. Sometimes I don't know. Sometimes I don't know. Just that repeated? Oh my God. That's okay. All right. Just knowing that alone actually. Okay. Yes, very, very tranquil indeed, but we'll see how that goes. Now we're on to Bloodhail, which seems to be one of the more succinct songs on the record. And it's the one that I'm most familiar with. But when I say most familiar, I was in college, put this song on a playlist, maybe listened to it the whole way once. So I, usually when it comes to songs that I've heard before, I say it's a review more so than a reaction because, it's not a proper reaction. But I'd say anything past a minute and a half of this song is going to be a reaction. But without further ado, here we go. I remember that. I love that bass sound. That bass sound is so good. So, Arrowheads, apparently. Musically coming off of this one, I had heard that the album delves into industrial and shoegaze, and I didn't know that we'd get a perfect marrying of the pair here in any of these songs. But that is, it starts out industrial, right, with that hard fucking snare right at the beginning, and that bass sound is just really, really did a lot for me. That's probably why I had it saved on a playlist. Far too often, I think, when vocals come out like this, it's a little whiny. It's a little bit too emo for me on the whole. But I can gather, at least from the first track and everything I've heard about this album, I'm trying to keep an open mind on that, because they are definitely building this atmosphere of despair. And, let's say I don't like that kind of vocal delivery usually. It's so far back in the mix, though, and I think that's what you get off of whether or not that was intentional, or if that's what you get on a $1,000 budget to produce an album. But it kind of lends itself to like this not professional feel that adds to how dingy it is. These are dirges here, folks. And if we want to take, Deathconsciousness literally, and everything I've read about, like death is what this album is. I think that extends to, they're trying to portray this idea here, clothes are all too often ripped. Our teeth are too often, gashed. Gnashed? I don't know how to pronounce that genuinely. And it lasts as long as it possibly can. I think that extends itself to everything else, right? Nothing is infinite. And then we take that into our own hands sometimes, right? Throw them some arrowheads. Yeah, this is something else. I'm like genuinely interested to see where it goes, because now, second, like this is the familiarity I have with this album is now gone. Everything else is going to be brand new and scary to me. And The World Laughs With You says, the vinyl comes with a booklet explaining the story, which I read it last year, and it was some of the most edgy, nihilistic shit I've ever read, but in a fun way. Well, hopefully, I would think that the fans of this album see it in that way, or maybe it means so much more to them than that. The vocals feel like they're drowning, which fits the tone of this album perfectly. I gotta say that. Yeah. Next track is heavy. Okay, so let's go on to the next track. The Big Gloom. Just get you a fuzz pedal and put the microphone across the room. Okay, so that was the Big Gloom, the third track, and you know, I was gonna hazard to say that I'm sure a lot of people find this to be boring, and then I was like, okay, well then, do I think it's boring? And you know, before I hazard to say that, I think sometimes whenever you engage with any art, whether that's a boring movie or music, or literally like looking at a fucking painting or something, right? Are you confusing boring with challenging? And I think challenging fits the description a little bit more here. I think it's fair to say, I'd say even past In Rainbows, because I'd say In Rainbows by Radiohead was probably the most challenging album, you know, because it requires more of the listener, which is never the art's fault. The art is what it is, and then it's up for you to interpret what it is to you, right? I feel that the same is very true so far for this record, and we're not even done with it yet. But I can't imagine it being too much different going forward. So just know that you know it's challenging to a degree just because of the repetition and, you know, trying to lock down that vibe for yourself. This is somebody who has had enough. Like, basically, you know, they have found hardly any more meaning left. Oh, please, please, please release me. I think that there's a reason why this section took up, you know, more than half of the song here. Stuck here on the bathroom floor, you know, God, I mean, what kind of situations do you have to be in to be on the bathroom floor and wanting to be released of this life? I mean, come on now. There's something about this line here. My arms, my legs are wood, unconscious trees with roots deep in the ground will all be out. Like these huge trees that have stood the test of time at some point will be, uplifted, you know, despite their foundation. Fuck. I take it as them feeling paralyzed and unable to move due to their depression. Okay. Yeah, my arms, my legs are wood, unconscious trees with roots deep in the ground. See, I was reading that all on one line there. So I can see my arms, unconscious trees with roots deep. I can see that meaning as well. Got Hunter. Carry. fuck is that? Oh my god. You know what? With that one, I'm gonna give it one of those. I'm gonna give it one of those. For a couple of reasons. Towards the end of that song, that beat drop was sick. And maybe does that show more about me and how I, analyze and react to music? Oh, just give me heavy drums and guitars, and that's what I needed, right? There's a certain anger and anguish within all this. Even though it feels as though like we're inviting the end and we're inviting death here. So lyrically here, the hunter, is this somebody who embodies death itself? And, this line about, as you watch the animals lay themselves down at your feet, 1,000 barred teeth, 1,000 bowed heads. They're all begging you for death. So to put them out of their misery. So whether or not you shoot the arrow and they're clinging on to life, or they're not clinging on to life, rather, because here it says, I no longer cling to life. I'm finally giving in. The hunter is somebody who puts living things out of their misery, just in life in general. Maybe when I think, if you're shooting arrow wise, you want to get to the animal body pretty quick to put it out of its misery. But it seems as though we are inviting that here. The hunter does us a great service, and we've done so much to deserve it. To where we almost deserve to die. Is that what I'm getting? I know I got some death consciousness professionals in the chat. Yeah, this is, and there's a part of me that wants to say that the music is only there to help the atmosphere. Other than that, this is like giving much more like Beowulf type shit. It's giving like epic poem. This is the wasteland. This is just the wasteland. From what I remember, the song is about the hunter killing God and feeding him to the animals. You just killed God? Well, that's something to mull over. That's kind of crazy. I guess we could take that idea going forward. This song is from God's perspective. Okay. Bloodhail is from the hunter's perspective. Yeah, okay. Well, I was going to say we have that callback to arrowheads, or, arrows. And, another thing before we get to the next track, we already have a couple mentions of, the forest and trees and stuff like that. So is it this thing where we're succumbing to nature as well, that death is just, death is equal to life in the fact that they both come from nature. It is nature. You can't have nature without both of those together. Very, very odd indeed, I think. Without wasting any time, we got some short songs here coming up. Moving on, folks, we got Telephony. So instrumentation wise, I don't know if they're using a drum machine or they're using a mix between electronic and like acoustic drums, because in songs past, I just feel like it's like the snare and the kick drum are just so like blown out. It's just like ridiculous and like crazy. Reminds me, I went to go see a group called The Body one time. I just remember like the drums just being like super blown out and just crazy. Also, you know, like in industrial, you know, despair type stuff, right? The bass has been kicking the entire time. And I've been told that, I believe this is the track 5, which it is. Tracks 3 and 5 are a little bit lower on the digital mixes, or did the digital copies, and I guess the streaming copy of this album as well. Which again, just kind of goes back to that idea of the fact that it's like not very professional, just kind of adds to it. It's like, that's not the fucking point. That is not the point of this. And it's just kind of amazing that, you know, this is like an amateur work hour, but it still sounds as good as it does. Now to get to the lyrics here, you know, the first reaction, imagine that, right? Is this somebody who has passed or is about to, you know, who has died, they're about to die, and they want to hear that voice one more time from somebody? Replies come fainter than air, so, you know, are these spirits, as it were. I can build a door and travel through. Is this somebody who wants to transcend death, to pass through the door between the living and the dead? Let's hit up the chat here. The song is about a person who built a time machine to talk to a dead loved one. Okay. So that's the machine that snaps all of time in half. So not only is this about maybe like the narratives within the songs themselves, you know, with either being the hunted or the hunter, as we've come to find, but rather how like the motives left for the living when death comes around them. You know, it's like, shit, you know, this person isn't there anymore, and there's this empty pit within me and I need to go rectify that by building a time machine. If science is half the man it says it is, then I can build it. I mean, there's just something about that. It's, you know, it's a very desperate thing to say, given the fact that, you know, okay, if we're building a time machine to go talk to it, like that's just how much you want it. That's how powerful death is. You know, that you're going to take on God. You're going to take on science. Telephony is like the phone booth from Doctor Who. It's the fucking TARDIS. The shit's the TARDIS. We are almost done with the plow that broke the plains, the first disc on the record. So let's keep it moving here with Would You Leave Their Son Out in the Sun? Nice play on words. Did they record this in a bathroom? Okay. I'm reading ahead a little bit, but I figured out that I got it. Okay, so we love songs about crucifixion. Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah. So, you know, once archangels were referenced, I took a look back at the title of the song, right? Who would leave their son, capitalized, out in the sun? And I'm like, is this about Christ, right? Or the idea of a crucifixion or something like that. But it seems as though that's pretty on the nose here, that this is about the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. Come down and make me feel right and miserable. Whenever I think about it, I think of it all the time. You part their feathered wings, have your way with them the way you do with all of us all the time. Is that talking about the Romans and how they treated the Jews? Right? What's the point of pushing on when you're at a brick wall? Everyone spends time. This is just crazy. This fucking set of lines here, this verse. Everyone spends time on the cross. I just want to make sure it's not a total loss. So maybe I'll get tanned and lose some weight while I wait. So they're bringing back the idea of homophones here. So son and son, wait and wait. Which is just, it's a phenomenal literary tool that is just at your disposal whenever you need it. And they needed it here. You know, and is that indicative of maybe the idea of, you know, the eternal optimist there? Like, always look on the bright side of life from Monty Python at the end of Life of Brian. Has anybody seen that movie? Is this song about Life of Brian?
Just before you draw your terminal breath. Life's a piece of shit when you look at it.
Because at the end of the movie, the main character, who gets confused for the Messiah, gets crucified, and then the ending song is "Always Look on the Bright Side of Life." So here they are on the cross, and he's looking on the bright, like, maybe I'll get tanned and I'll lose some weight. Again, I really liked where this one took me. Alliteration is my favorite literary device. Nicely well done here, and does go along with the idea of here are the deaths from the past. You know, and how we kind of deal with that. So, all right, so we're moving on here. This is the last track for the first part of this, The Plains, right? There is no food. 4-minute instrumental, so let's... What the fuck? How can something be fun and not fun at the exact same time? I mean, what the fuck was that? Where was that ass blast? My goodness. So like the first track, right? A quick one before the eternal worm devours Connecticut. Say that 6 times fast. Yeah, you do feel alone with this one. And then the ending is just... I feel like I'm being like covered in dirt and like I'm being buried underneath rubble and bone. Like, oh man. Okay, no. We're gonna do this. We're gonna finish that. We're gonna finish this up. Yeah, that bass was like something else, man. And again, like that bass was like super blown out in my headphones, so I'm getting like the crackles and stuff like that. And the only like modern thing I can kind of point that to was in 10,000 Gex by 100 Gex. They just blast the bass and they just turn everything up, and it sounds like destructive, right? It doesn't sound clean at all, but given the nature of that band, they're a hyper pop group. And it was a very aggressive part of the song. It fit in very well. And so when I hear those crackles and the bass just being blasted out of my head, it all fits in, and it rushes home this point of A, music just being a powerful vessel for mood and emotion, but B, these boys need psychiatric help. Yeah. Billy and Jamie. Yes. Yeah, Billy and Jamie. Hold on, we'll play that real quick. What a good album. That's one's going into my 3 a.m. and you need to stare at your ceiling playlist. Yeah, no kidding. All right, so we have survived to the second part of this album, which is the future. So we'll see what we got going on here with... It's got to be probably one of my favorite song titles, without even hearing the song, of all time. This is Waiting for Black Metal Records to Come in the Mail. Okay, so I'm actually going to pause it for the first time because there's, well, something of a little bit more of a conventional, like, popular song structure here. I was not expecting, like, a punk chord progression at all in this album. That's a hell of a way to start the second part of a double album, I suppose. Introduce some new sounds, rather. Yeah, I was not expecting that at all, considering that the intro to this song is like a minute and a half. And, you know, it's the same type of stuff. I knew it probably wouldn't get much further than just that chord progression, because repetition lies within this album and makes it its sweet honey, right? I'm not going to comment on the lyrics just yet because I'm still kind of at a loss, but yeah, I didn't expect them I didn't expect any part of this album to rock out. and this is definitely rocking out a little bit, so we'll keep this going. So that one was actually fun. Not to say if this is the first time you're watching one of my videos that I just need fun and all the time, but they're giving me some diversity here, right? I wasn't expecting that. You know, that's you know, everything's just been so sullen and sad, and just given, you know, the punk rock nature of this one, I'm definitely getting the angry portion of this out. I'll be honest with you, as far as lyrics go, this has been one of the hardest for me to grapple. You know, the guitar tone on this one was fantastic. The fake out here at the end was awesome. You know, it bleeds out. He says fuck, and then it just keeps going on. Keeps going on. It's about corporations and stuff. Well, you know, I kind of, you know, propel your national machines, give us all the disease, but not the vaccine. You know, I wanted to say something like, oh, it's, you know, it's about that thing that happened in 2020. But this was, you know, recorded or at least released in 2008. So well before all that happened. So maybe some kind of capitalist a collapse with their backs against the wall on these last days. So maybe some late stage capitalism there. So some late stage capitalism stuff that's going on right here. At least that's how I'm, you know, going to interpret backs against the wall on these last days. You know, how can we, as corporations, because they're people too, haggle as much money as we can out of the common folk. Yeah, that was something. That was late stage capitalism is, I think imperialism breeds late stage capitalism at some point. You can't have one or the other. You can't have one or the other, but I don't think that they're mutually exclusive. Or I guess synonymous completely, you know. It's all about the cycle of things. And, you know, hey, look, he's saying this all while waiting for the black metal records to come in the mail. So he, you know, singer-songwriter here, is a willing participant. Thought I'd feel something, but I didn't. Yes, that's a myth. So, you know, we have this illusion of choice, you know, in this economic system, and we choose black metal records, and you know, that's supposed to give us this air of freedom and satisfaction. But at the end of the day, it's just all shit. It's just all shit. All right, here's my second favorite song title of all time. This is Holy Fucking Shit 40,000. Bro should stop playing Warhammer 40k and start playing Holy Fucking Shit 40k. Am I right? Am I right? Am I right?
Everything you do is planned out in advance. The stars push their winds down on you. With
industrial things. Oh my God. So, okay. With this song and the last song, I may be grabbing a better picture of what they're trying to do here, and what that is exactly. I don't know yet because the album isn't done yet, but so far we have two very distinct parts. The first part was, more ambient, and if we're going with the idea that it's about, death and all the things around it, whether you're the hunted, the hunter, dying for a cause, going back to, Christ up on the cross there. And it's all very distant, his vocals are so much more back in the track, and it's faded like a memory, right? It's in the past. We're here. It sounds more modern, so we get that punk chord progression there, and then this one, with the movements between, the acoustic guitar at first, and then that drop, and then bringing us back home with the acoustic guitar. We're definitely in a new movement here. This is, it's called the future, so things that may sound a little bit more contemporary to maybe the common ear. Right. And, if we'd watched, or if we had listened to songs that were about, hunter, hunted, being martyred or something like that, doing things that motivate you from dying, this is somebody who thinks that they have a just cause of killing somebody back in time. So there's the whole time travel theme that we had kind of started with back in Telephony, coming back here, but not using it for like, okay, I just really miss this person. This is, I need to fix shit. And if I have to kill to do it, then it's justified because we're in a bad way now. So I don't, I've replaced my heart with metal parts. You could take that as, they've grown so callous over time that they're not like they don't have that human nature to not kill one another. So, they're separating themselves like that. Or is this, am I supposed to take 40,000 in the title as this is the year 40,000? We're all fucking cyborgs and symbiotes, and like, this just isn't right. Trying to hold on to that, maybe the theme of nature from the first part. And there's way too much shit about the stars in this album. I don't know if it's too much shit. There's a lot of shit about the stars. Maybe like looking at something that's great. What the fuck? I guess beyond that, did I pick up on what this was trying to lay down for all the death consciousness experts? This title was actually a reference to the yearly... This title was actually reference to the yearly unalive rate at the time. So yeah, that tracks. The song is like, it's giving, misanthrope. Yeah, I generally think this is about how humanity has become apathetic to one another. Yeah, because this is, trained to kill. God, it says it right there. Oh, God. Okay, so we'll keep this going just because I want to see if what I just, are we in a, like, new musical movement here? So yeah, thematically, I think this one just kind of curtails off of the last song we listened to. You know, we're in a future that is not looking too great here. You know, with all the industrial mishigas there, and of course, you know, just God, these bass tones are just killing me, man, in a good way. In a good way. Yeah, there's not too much more to say on that one other than just scary, spooky, cyberpunk vibes, I guess. All right, moving on. I don't have too much more to say about that one. We got Deep Deep here. Okay. So, did we just all get raptured? Is this the end of days here? It's an atom bomb, or you know, nuclear fission, right? That's what makes an atom bomb. Comment down below if you're Oppenheimer and tell me if I'm wrong. But yeah, this seems like the ultimate of ultimate. Like we've finally reached the end here, lyrically speaking. We still got, and the scariest thing is we still got a couple more songs on this album. So like, gee fucking whiz. Just complete and utter nuclear annihilation is what I'm getting off of this one. Like the atoms in your own body, these atoms are like, they don't realize we can't blame them. Art is a means of escape. They don't see the downside. That it's like not the atom's fault that we are the way that we are. That's an interesting interpretation. Or you could be right. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, as they circle the room, as they circle the room, I was like, okay, is this just like a murder going on here? Like, yeah, this seems where we're at. Let's continue the instrumentation here because I was getting down with it. Yeah, so this album is really a tale of two albums. I mean, thematically, you know, it wasn't apparent, but this is an album you have to fucking listen to all the way to get it. Because, you know, after There Is No Food, this is an entirely new album, in my opinion. But, I mean, all the themes and concepts are all still there. They're just taking one step above musically and not as abstract in the lyrics, I felt, but maybe that's, you know, the, music's helping me out a little bit there just because it is just that much more accessible, you know, to the common ear, right? Yeah, this is really something here, folks. This is something. I'll give a recap soon after the next song. Move on to I Don't Love. Oh boy. just pause here because they're kind of just droning along. So that drop, I don't know what to say about that drop. Maybe it's been a collective of all the songs and, you know, themes and attitudes towards life and death that we've come across so far that's just kind of living in my head at the moment. And it starts off so slow and soft, and then I felt like a sting in my arms and in my nerves. Like they weren't chills. It kind of hurt me in a way. Like that was like pain. Like chills, but they're pain. It's like the chills I felt like listening to, like, you know, other things that I've reacted to on the channel so far, like those like individual little moments, like in Self-Control by Frank Ocean off of Blonde, or Little Things You Give Away by Linkin Park. You know, they just like gave me chills. It's that same like kind of effect that sounds do to the body, but that I honestly, like, that one fucking hurt. Now you know why I said this album hurts to listen to. That actually hurt to listen to. And, like, not like a bad way, like, this is like sticking an ice pick in my ears. This is bad. It's like, that was just like such a, like, instinctive reaction my body had. Let's keep it rolling then. Okay, so then a transition to the next track, but what we do here on the channel is before the last track, we tend to give a recap of the album as a whole as a way to pump up the last track and kind of talk about all the things that we've talked about so far. I'm like getting chills trying just knowing that I have to fucking talk about this. So, you know, just with that last song, it's very self-explanatory. They're done. The weight of the human experience is too much for them to bear. They're done. They don't feel anything. This is nihilism to a T. What is the point? Existentialists would say, well, you have the power to make your own point. And what these guys are saying is, well, what's the point in that? God. So, you know, from the first part, everything from A Quick One Before the Eternal Worm Devours Connecticut to There Is No Food. You know, if we're going with this idea of this is, you know, things from the past, a lot of references to nature and things gone by, and that calling back to the past, right, through Telephony, to where, you know, it might not even take place in the past because they have a time machine. But that's the idea, right? Between the first track and Hunter, you know, you get this dichotomy between the hunter and the hunted. And, you know, dying as seen as like a good cause, to where the second half of this album feels more contemporary. It feels something a little bit more familiar. But that's even scarier because there's parts, it's more relatable in that degree. Like you can see the pains and growing up in this increasing, you know, technological dystopia. So, you know, it's giving OK Computer vibes, another album that we've reacted to on the channel, albeit maybe a little bit more abstract. You know, and in composition, you know, especially with that last song, you know, and that kind of deviated a little bit from the other songs here on the second half of the album, you know, where it's just blowing out your ears with all of this crap. That's the point. The point is, I think they've done a really good way of conveying that. I think you know, the concept of death is just very overwhelming to them, and they want us to feel that idea like they do. You know, and that's something, you know, and I'll get real with you guys, you know, I really envy people who are like, oh, I'm not afraid to die, you know, it's like YOLO, and it's like, yeah, I get that, but like, you know, dying like scares the crap out of me, you know, and it's not just that, it's the justifications in every way that we die, whether or not they're just or unjust. Right, whether you're going back in time to, you know, take somebody's life to, you know, hopefully make the future better, or if you're a martyr, it's just, I didn't, like, expect Death Consciousness to be so literal in its title, because they're very conscious of death and all that it really entails. You know, and within I Don't Love, you know, you think that that's something that's going away when you die, and that's, you know, something that people have to deal with if they love you when you do die, but it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, it's all death. It's all death. It's all things coming to be until they aren't. Discovering this album at the peak of my depression was a very inconvenient but revealing experience. No, I can see this being a very cathartic road for somebody to take, especially if you're at that point in your life. And I'll include a PSA. I don't care if this is virtue signaling. If you feel bad, go get some help, please. God, you know, reach out to somebody. It's really, that's what it is. And I mean that wholeheartedly, but this is just something else. This is definitely something I'm going to have to go back to and listen to again. Industrial is not my forte, but I think here on the second half of the album, they've made it a little bit more accessible for me. Is it Nine Inch Nails accessible? No, but that's not the point. This isn't, you know, I'm glad that they gave me even an inch to kind of jam out on this record. Seriously, I feel like I have way more to say. The specific flavor of guilt driven by depression when you know that you should be feeling something and want to feel something, but you just can't muster enough strength to surface, so you continue to float and just exist. That's very apropos, and I think that's very well put. Once I heard someone say that Dan and Tim singing about how nothing matters can mean everything to someone, always stuck with me. That was something I was going to say earlier. Like, it's very nihilist. You know, we don't believe, you know, you can go the whole Big Lebowski route, right? And say like, oh, well, they don't believe in anything.
He believes in nothing.
He believes in nothing, Lebowski, nothing.
You know, and like nothing matters at all. But this matters a great deal to them. You know, nothing matters a great deal. And what's more nothing than death? The aftermath of death is just pure nothingness. This is a tale of two albums. It is such an about face. I mean, not really. Yes and no. Like, you get a 6-minute punk song on the second half of this album, and it's, you know, we were talking about how if the first part of the album is death in the past, the second part is death in the future, and thematically, conceptually, lyrically, musically, that all rings true. So with all that said, and we said a lot just there, this is the last track on Deathconsciousness, Earthmover.
This
Okay, so, an army of golems, right? So, kind of going back to the religious imagery there, just as far as it being like a stone monster, they're embodying, and representing death itself for all humanity, and it's not what our character here wanted, even though it seems as though that's what it was, but it was more than they bargained for, obviously. And here, you can't hurt these guys, and they wish they were dead. Like, yeah. I'll go back a little bit. So I'll go back a little bit before we start it up, but so this is so an army of golems kills humanity, basically. Is that what I'm getting the gist of here lyrically? Is that like the end of the album, basically? It's so we've already seen a nuclear apocalypse, and now this is just like an apocalypse so fantastic the mind can't comprehend. Well, thank God that's over. Yeah, so I don't know how much more to say that wasn't in the recap. This is not an easy listen. Deathconsciousness by Have a Nice Life is not an easy listen. I don't think I shouldn't even say for anybody, because I don't know everyone. It is a very challenging record. Like I said, it requires a little bit more out of people. At first I was like, okay, am I really just going to vibe with this lyrically? If at all, because, the first half, it was a little bit too much for me. I'm not really used to that kind of like ambient industrial kind of thing. But this is probably one of the, if not like the album that I say, like, you if you're going to do it, you have to listen to the entire thing. There are some songs on the second half, and I'd even say Bloodhail, right? About the first half of the album, that work pretty well alone, but you're doing yourself a disservice. I think, as somebody who cares a lot about music and, is an avid record collector and, maybe prides themselves on how eclectic their taste is. From that, out of principle, I can say that I'm glad I listened to Have a Nice Life's Deathconsciousness. But more than that, they took these concepts and made an epic out of it. You know, and you know, you think back to like, you know, maybe like commercially successful epics like The Wall by Pink Floyd, right? I'm already wearing the shirt. I'll talk about it. Yeah, well, that album's got disco songs on it. Sure, there's more to it. Right? World War II sucked for everybody. I get it. You know, 1984 is real. I get it. But like, what a fucking shot in the dark these guys took. And they stuck the landing. This isn't shit that I listened to, but like I'm moved by this. I was genuinely moved by this. God, just death in all of its forms. This album sounds so varied yet cohesive. It's a very cohesive album. That's I mean, this is one piece. This is a piece of art, I think. Not just looking at, you know, this I don't even know who the painting that's on the album is by, but even outside of that, this is something that's abstract and nostalgic and foreboding, and like we've said, you know, it's even comforting, and the fact that this album can be comforting, I think, speaks to the human condition, but B, just serves more reason as to why I think everybody should be fortunate that this album got the reach that it did, even though it's a cult classic, right? This isn't, you know, this wasn't burning barns down. This isn't going to be in the club or anything like that, you know? This album is there for the people that need it. You know, and you know, like I said, I'm scared to shit about death. So maybe I needed it more than I thought. Saddest album of all time? I mean, it's sad, but depressing is way more the right term. Nihilistic should be the, you know, the right, but I can't even say nihilistic because you can't, you know, with the amount of like religious shit in this album, I like, maybe you can use that and make that an example. So like, see, it doesn't matter anyway. Everybody dies, you know, and we're all going to die. So, you know, they died for nothing. God, what the fuck? Yeah, what a debut. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. I feel like I got a lot out of my system during the recap. Hopefully there's no golems around, right?
Diggity dog. Breaking. Diggity dog.